You know, I get people asking me all the time, Rabbit, is this a good OBS? Hey, is this a good deal on OBS? What do you look for in an OBS? Hey, my grandpa's got an OBS. And I thought the best way to answer all these messages and questions was to shoot a video to show you what to look for when buying an OBS. You know, I've been called the mayor of OBS town. I've been called the king of OBSs. Hell, I've been cussed out at events for ruining the market on OBS trucks. But I'm going to tell you something. I told you guys so. Even a year and a half ago, I told you these trucks was what's going to make money. And what are they doing? They're going up in value like crazy. These trucks have jumped in value over 20 to 50% in the last 6 months. Just saying, I got a way of calling it. I know how to pick a winner. And speaking of a winner, this one right here, the newest one in the RUC, 1996. You're like, Rob, how do you pick out these years on these trucks? Well, the OBS is from 1988 to 1998. And before somebody comments, yes, they did make a few 99 early OBSs, but basically 88 to 98. Don't overcomplicate it. But what do you look for in a nice OBS? And I think this would be a great one because this truck is a gorgeous example of what you would want. Not saying there's some rough ones out there that can't be fixed, but you got to understand right off the bat, these trucks are 25 years old now. They've got some age, and depending on where you live, rust is a factor in these things. And this is crazy because I was selling these trucks the first time around, and you have to worry about things like that. But you want to look at the overall of it. Look at the body. Look down the sides. Look how straight and slick that is. Make sure it's not wavy. Had a bunch of body work done to it. Like I said, these trucks got a little age. Another telltale sign on OBS is that you always want to look for, and there's actually a couple things down here, is this. Take that door, hinge pins and bushings. Notorious for going out on these things. Easy fix, Dorman, any O'Reilly Auto Parts sells them, but they're right there. They're a little aggravating to change. But if you get one, the door, when you open it, drops down and all that, it's an easy fix. But the big catch is, if they let it go too far, it actually wears out the actual hinge parts that are welded to the door and the cowl right here. And the problem is when that wears out so much, that bushing won't take up the slack. And I'll be honest with you, it actually ruins the door. You have to cut the hinge off to fix it. It's a nightmare. Just find you another door and have it repainted. But another thing, while we got the door open, you want to look at door jambs. That's a big thing. This truck's got a big door jamb in it. Look right here. All you see is just a little rubber wear from the weather strip right there. Inside the door jamb's nice. No bubbles, no rust, no missing paint. Cab corners, that's another big thing in these trucks. And also, bend down, run it right around the edge. Like that right there. Make sure it's nice, smooth, and slick. Like I said, check out your body lines, your gaps, things like that. These things weren't perfect from the factory, but you also want to look how the door shuts at the top of the cab. That's another telltale sign that door's out of alignment. Like I said, run down this. Don't let stuff like this slow you down. Well, all the headlights are fogged up. You can buy every light on this thing for 150 bucks. So don't worry about that. That's quick fix stuff. Look at the bumper. Look at bumper alignment. Look at that. A big thing too is the aftermarket grills. The aftermarket grills, the bow tie doesn't fit right. This is a factory GM grill, so how can you tell? See how it's made to go around the bow tie. Well, the aftermarket grill can't put this in there because they would be copying GM's logo. So that's the first thing you can tell if it's got an aftermarket grill. The bow tie will actually be sticking up right here and it wouldn't be formed like a Chevy bow tie. Like I said, checking gaps, looking in here. Look at all your bumper supports, frame, A-arms, things like that. Another big thing to look at is inner fenders, things like that. Looking for rust. Super slick on this one all the way around. And like I said, like I was doing on the cab corners, you want to go down and feel, because a lot of times they start rusting really low where you can't see it. So you kind of want to, kind of feel around a little bit. But like another thing, like you want to look at doors. This is what they're supposed to be like, how that shuts. That nice click. Shouldn't have to slam a door on trucks. That tells you right there, if you got to slam the door, you got bad hinge pins or bushings, or you got a bad striker bolt or latch. And I've actually seen it to the point where they're so worn out that it actually started breaking the door out right here, started breaking the metal. So moving on to the inside. This, like I said, this is a 96 model. So this is airbag up front or airbag for the driver, no airbag for the passenger. And this is the newer style dash. And these dashes were notorious for breaking. You know, so you definitely want to look for a nice dash. Now, they make covers and things for them like that, but I'll be honest with you, pretty much you can spot them from a mile away. But you really want to find one with a nice dash. That's a big thing, you know. And another big thing you want to check, make sure your power windows work nice and smooth. You know, because these are all expenses you got to think about when you're selling. You know, big thing, everybody loves factory radio. This one's factory tape, CD, you know, just little things like that. You want to make sure the cup holder's not broke. That's a big thing in these things. You know, make sure the glove box isn't busted out. I've seen that one already a few times. Check out the headliner in it. Just do a quick visual inspection. You know what I'm saying? These steering wheels are a little hard to find, but I'm going to show you a trick on how to fix these in a later episode. Throw those there. All right. So you got to think about all these trucks. This was the year of bed liners. So almost every one of these trucks came with a plastic bed liner inside them, but it could have come one or two ways. You had the over-the-rail pawpaw style bed liners, and then you had the drop-ins that went under the rail. Naturally, I would have it with no bed liner, but if I had to have a bed liner, this is probably the lesser of the two evils going under the rail. So at least you don't have this coming over. And this is probably one of the very few one of these trucks I ever seen from the factory that somebody didn't put damn grab bars on it. I hate bed rails with a passion. So another big thing you want to look at on these trucks, make sure everything's all right with the tailgate, because people actually use these things. So you want to make sure all this stuff looks nice, everything lines up, and the tailgate actually shuts good. I actually opened the tailgate on one time, and the bedside actually shifted in. It was so beat up. And the truck was actually a good looking truck. You had to slam the hell out of the tailgate to get it shut. So you definitely want to make sure all that stuff's good. Now, let's show you a little bit under the hood. Every time I pop the hood on a Silverado, I think about old Amarai King. Let me pop the hood on this here Silverado. Boy, what a fallen star he's turned into. But anyway, super clean example, Vortec, small block, really not much to look at. You know, you want to make sure your air works. This one, somebody's put a new aftermarket compressor on there, so that's always a good sign. Also, just want to look, factory air box. This one hadn't been modded. This is bone stock. This truck has the original plug wire still on it. Super clean example. Big things to look at. You want to look at, you know, if possible in wrecked or something like that. Like I said, these trucks have a little bit of age on them. Look at that radiator support. Look how the fenders and all that stuff. Look at your fender bolts. Make sure they're not, you know, slotted or anything like that. Those are big things. As long as everything looks square, looks clean, that's a win all the way around. Vortec 350, can't beat them. I'll be honest with you, it's probably one of the toughest motors on the road. I've seen these things with 500,000 miles on them and still going. And this one's got an aftermarket cowl hood. Actually, both of them we have here have cowl hoods on them. But these are things to look at. Well, you said, well, that's a 96. Well, let's take you over here to Old Evil. I'll show you a few things. Well, what's the differences? Well, this is an 88, the first year for an OBS. Oh, Evil Knievel. We called her just before she was going out the door. Well, the first thing you notice on this is the early style dash. This is 88 to 94. So that's another big thing is these things are notorious for cracking, and the dash is gorgeous in this one also. This is an 84,000 mile truck, so it's kind of a rarity to find an 88 like that. So you're like, well, what else makes it an 88? Well, you notice the tweed interior in this. This is the way it came originally in 88. Yeah, we were going to do some wild custom interior, but it'd be a sin to cut this factory interior up. Like I said, this one's got a cowl hood, but the next biggest thing you notice on these trucks, the biggest difference of all, is the front end. Notice we have no composite headlights. You got sealed beam glass. So you had these staggered lights on your early OBSs. And then you notice the grill didn't have the bump in it. That was 94, was the first year for the bump in the grill. And you notice how this one's cut out for the factory emblem. Like I said, in the 88, it's the same thing. It's all the same stuff. You want to look at cab corners, you want to look for rust, rot, whatever. Another big thing too, obviously, of course, 94 didn't come with an airbag, or 88 through 94 didn't come with any type of airbag or anything like that. But, you know, you definitely want to look for rust issues, especially when you get into the 80s trucks. So here's just a few tips to help you when you're on the hunt for an OBS. And something to stay away from. I know a lot of guys say, well, man, I found a nice long bed truck. Stay away from them. Long beds is not where it's at, never has been, never will be, far as I'm considered. The extended cabs are starting to get popular. Some of the crew cabs are popping up, and those are extremely popular. Crew cab short beds. They did a Centurion conversion on some of the 90s OBSs, and those things are killer. Matter of fact, I'm trying to buy one in California right now. But these trucks are absolutely red hot right now, but they still can be found. You know, Grandpa's still driving these things, and these are the trucks you can pick up to make big bucks. Well, you get to hunting, and I'm going to get to selling. Guys, we'll catch you next time at Rabbit's Used Cars. You got to understand, right off the bat, though, it's with an air wrench. You know, like I said, run through your power windows. But that right there is just a quick way to find. How long are we looking at, probably?
Oh, we're 10 there.
Oh,